Welcome to What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. Andrew is president and CEO of Swan Capital. I'm Luann Fulmer. And if you're a business owner, chances are you might have some questions about how to prepare for retirement. Questions like, how do you protect your personal assets from your business? Or how can you save money on taxes? Owning a business, we know, can create some struggles that other retirees don't even have to think about. And that is our focus today on What Your Money Would Say. Here's the phone number for you, 800-848-8768. Again, 800-848-8768. You'll hear Andrew talk about his SWAN planning process. This is something that Andrew has designed with the goal of helping retirees sleep well at night. SWAN, it's an acronym. And so you can call Andrew for a complimentary appointment. That number again, 800-848-8768. And you can find us online anytime at swan-capital.com. A big hello to you, Andrew.
Hey, I'm glad to be with you, Luann. We have a really special guest today, so I'm really excited to get right into the show today.
Yes, I am so excited as well. I'd like to welcome to our show Lawrence Moore. Lawrence is president of Gibson and Associates. They are a licensed business brokerage firm right here in Pensacola. So they specialize in the sale, the merger, and the purchasing of businesses. Lawrence, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Yeah, excited as well. Thank you. Glad to be here. Nice to be with you, Luann, and you, Andrew.
Andrew and I talk about retirees and how to plan for retirement. Today, we're going to take a little different spin. Lawrence has led businesses inside of Fortune 500 companies, done businesses over, more than 20 countries, and consulted even with Russia. So I know he understands the global economy and how a business can thrive in it. So I'm really excited to get his take on it.
Which is pretty cool. Didn't collude with Russia, just consulted with Russia.
No, just consulted.
But
I did have to get out of a few sticky situations. But that's just par for the course over there.
Par for the course over there. Well, I'm so excited about having Lawrence on today because as a listener, maybe you are headed towards retirement, but you own a business, and it's nice to always think with the end in mind. Initially, when we start our business, we get into it sometimes by happenstance. Sometimes we had this great idea or this gap in employment, and then we say, I have something to bring to the marketplace, and we'll see if it works. And then you have a business, and it gets going, and now you're adding employees, and you think, wow, I've built this huge business 10, 20 years later. But you think, I never thought about selling my business when I first started it. And that's what Lawrence really does is he helps families avoid the pitfall when they're transitioning their business to other family members or other business partners, or they're just selling it to a private equity firm. He can help you avoid all those pitfalls as a business owner.
So if someone is the owner of their business, I think a big reality is that business can't be your only asset. What else should you have?
Well, that's a great point, Luann. And the reality is, I think for most business owners and across the U.S., 80 to 90% of net worth is actually tied up in the business. Estimated nearly $10 trillion across 6 million privately held businesses. So long-term exit planning does need to consider how to move more of the owner's net worth out of the business and into other assets. But for most, the single most important wealth management event will be the sale of their business.
Isn't that interesting? You go into business because you have a passion, right? And I think that's awesome that people do that. But like you just said, Lawrence, that's not the only purpose of a business. You can and you should invest outside of your business, right, Andrew?
Exactly. I mean, the purpose of any business, and I try to remind all business owners this, is to extract capital. Of course, we want to add value to the marketplace. Of course, we want to take care of our customers, our vendors, and of course, our employees. I mean, those are the people we promised to take care of when we hired them. When I started Swan Capital 14 years ago, I didn't start it with selling Swan Capital in mind. I started it because I loved finance. I loved giving people financial advice. But as I've progressed progressed and matured as a business owner, I've realized that Swan Capital also serves as a way for me to extract capital and, save for my family and maybe generations to come. So that is what Swan Capital also serves in my personal life, is a vehicle to extract capital to invest in other business ventures and other investments.
That's interesting. Never ever thought about that. All right, so there's this thing called rate of return for a business. I want you to explain how someone determines the rate of return on their business.
Well, and I think that's where we should always start. When it comes to any investment, a business is no different. It's an investment. So like when you buy a rental property or you buy a stock or you buy a CD, you hope for a return on your investment. If a business, has negative profits for 5 years, well, that's not a good investment. That sounds like a hobby that's draining money. But when I speak with business owners who are even friends sometimes, and they say, well, Andrew, but if I sell my widget, like I do every day in my business, I can make 100% return on my money, or I can make even 1,000% return on selling my widget. Why would I invest in the stock market that only makes an 8 to 10% return, historically speaking? And I say, how does that compete? I say, it doesn't. You don't compare the two. See, when it comes to business is not passive. It takes blood, sweat, and tears sometimes to keep the business going. And it's not really fair to compare your business to the stock market, because when you invest in investments like the stock market, it should be a passive approach. You shouldn't have to put blood, sweat, and tears into investing in the stock market. So I always share with families, don't compare apples to oranges.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The business is sweat equity. The market is passive. I think another element is let's not forget about risk, right? Circumstance and timing can impact the risk profile for either your business or your market investment.
And every business is going to have a flip-flop in its industry. And so if it's kind of like if you decided to go invest in Enron, work for Enron, your pension is coming from Enron, that was a bad financial decision. And then it's no different when you own your own business. You should, invest back in your business. But if it's your only investment, where your paycheck comes from, your retirement is, and hopefully your future income is, I think you're putting all your eggs in one basket.
Interesting. Now, obviously, we have fewer and fewer pensions these days. Retirees are going to have to take it upon themselves to contribute to IRAs, 401ks, things like that. But then business owners have even more of a challenge, because they're completely responsible for creating their retirement nest egg. I want to talk about the types of accounts a business owner should have.
Well, and this is the nice thing. So at Swan Capital, I don't own a franchise financial firm. I own Swan Capital, and Lawrence owns, Gibson & Associates. So we understand what it's like to be a business owner. So that's why I think we have this special ability to speak to business owners. And so as a business owner, you do have a lot of challenges, because you have to not only take care of payroll, take care of HR, you have to take care of, running a really good business, but you have to take care of your own family's finances. And so where I come alongside families is making sure that you do have either a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA set up for your family. But then we look at setting up a 401k. And so many businesses say, Andrew, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to increase my overhead. Here at Swan Capital, we offer a 401k for two reasons. The first one is it's a selfish reason. It's for me. I have, there's certain income limits for IRAs, but there's no income limits with the 401k. So I'm able to put money into a Roth 401k that I created for our company, and we're able to save, me and my spouse, tax-free, and the business helps support that endeavor, which is pretty neat. The second reason is we want to legitimately say that at Swan Capital, we offer benefits when we go to hire new employees. And if we're offering a 401k, that is a nice benefit to offer. And not every employee is going to take it, but we encourage it. One, because we're a financial firm, and I hope my employees will ultimately retire with me one day. But these are different investment vehicles that we create for business owners. So if you're listening today and you have a business and you're thinking about potentially selling it in the next 5 years, and you're wondering, how do I prepare my business to sell at the highest dollar? That is what Lawrence is specially and uniquely qualified to help you do, is one, evaluate how much your business is worth, help you come up with an exit strategy. And then where I come alongside for business owners is saying, how do you have this big liquidity event of selling your business, and how do you turn that into a retirement for you and your family? So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768, and we will connect you with Lawrence, who can work with you in coming up with a strategy of unwinding your business once and for all.
And you can also head to the website, swan-capital.com. There, he has a monthly market recap there, and then a blog post stating the course, too, that he keeps up on every week. It's a beautiful new website. Check it out there. Of course, you can also hear our shows, so you can repeat this show, listen again to our show with Lawrence Moore. And we just thank you for joining us today on our show. This is What Your Money Would Say. And if you own a business, we know that you have some certain struggles that other retirees may not even be thinking about. And so here's another question for the business owner. Are you protecting your personal assets from your business? Lawrence, how can someone separate their personal assets from their business interests?
Well, great question, and you absolutely have to do this. Separating your business interests into a legal entity is what's going to shelter your personal assets from any business-related liabilities. The three most common, most have heard of, LLCs, limited liability corporations, and then C corporations and S corporations. Each of these have varying, I'll call them, firewalls, right? If we're familiar with that term, varying, protection levels, and they have different tax structures. So, you'll want to address what your needs are and where the business is going with your CPA or with your attorney, but absolutely a step that needs to be taken to put a wall between personal and business.
And a lot of times that's where people stop right there, Luann, as they think, I just need an LLC and then my business will be protected. But that's not the only thing that can help protect your business.
No, not at all. And in fact, there's insurances, having the proper insurances, general liability, or even industry-specific coverage. In my role as an advisor and a consultant, GEI carries errors and omissions insurance, which is necessary for anyone providing professional services.
While like a doctor's practice may hold malpractice insurance, very similar to that.
Exactly. So also the contracts that you have in place, any waivers, you want to make sure that those are in the name of the legal entity, that there's no personal guarantee or personal name associated with those. And what's interesting too, even inside the business, let's say we've separated our business activities, you might want to separate distinct business activities from each other.
And that's
inside.
so smart, not only for tax purposes, like if you separated your marketing arm or your distribution arm, you can cut that into a tiny business of its own. Because so many times people say, I'm protected because I have an LLC. For example, in the real estate development business, and you say, well, if they sue me, there's only 4 properties in that LLC. I say, well, yeah, but they're going to get the 4 properties in the LLC. Yeah, they won't get your other personal assets, but they're going to get what is in that LLC. So separating that out, and also having the umbrella coverage. I see that so often where people, will have their errors and omissions, but they don't have anything protecting if someone slips and falls on the property.
Right.
And that's where a general liability or umbrella coverage would really come in handy.
Yeah, that real estate option is really common, really popular. You just need to talk to the right people to make it happen. But there's tax benefits and liability benefits by putting each piece of real estate in a different LLC.
And you can lease it back and you could own it in your own name. We've worked with a lot of business owners and making sure, I know Scott who's our estate planning attorney, has worked with a lot of business owners of having that property in their own name and leasing it back to the business. There's some really nice ways to not only do that for tax purposes, but do it for liability purposes. And the problem, Lawrence, though, is as a business owner, I went to, the School of Business, at UWF, and they didn't teach all this stuff. stuff, right? I mean, they teach high-level stuff, but you have to learn this as the business owner while you're trying to grow your business. And that is so hard. And then you have to go connect with the CPA and tell the CPA what to do with the estate planning attorney. And that's why here at Swan Capital, we have a CPA in the office as well as having an estate planning attorney. And that's why we bring you in as a business coach, an executive coach to help businesses really prepare not only for the sale of their business, but preparing it 5-10 years prior to selling their business. And so if that's you and you're building a business right now and you think, well, maybe 10 years from now, I'm going to hang it up. I love what I do. I've enjoyed creating this business, but I want to sell it, give it to another generation, and I want to enjoy my retirement. If that's you today, we have a really special visit that we can schedule a 1-hour complimentary visit with Lawrence where he can sit down with you, learn about what your plan is for your business, and see how he can come alongside with you. To schedule that visit, all you have to do is call our 1-800 number. Because we have 3 offices in Mobile, Daphne, and Pensacola, we use one number, which is 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768. 8768.
This is a great show today. We hope you're enjoying it, and we still have a lot more to get to, so stick around for more of What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. Thanks for joining us today. You're listening to What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. Of course, Andrew is president and CEO of Swan Capital. He has offices in Pensacola and Mobile and Daphne, Alabama. And we have a very special guest on our show today, Lawrence Moore of GAI. It's a company that specializes in the sale, the merging, and the purchasing of a business. And his office is located here in Pensacola, Florida. And Lawrence, so excited to have you. We're having a great talk today for people who own businesses, and you are an executive coach. You guide business owners and you help them, reach their goals. I mean, that's the goal of your position. And so taxes, of course, are going to be really, really important when you have a business, something that you've got to address. How do you help a business owner save money on their taxes? How does that work?
When it comes to selling a business, Luann, and when it comes to running a business, taxes are always going to be a theme of that conversation. The nice thing as a business owner, you have ability to have a lot more tax strategies than the average person. That is an advantage of owning a business. And unfortunately, again, we've talked about this, as business owners, you have the job of not only being CEO, but you have to connect with your CPA, your attorney, and making sure that everyone's working in a cohesive approach. And that's why it's really nice that we have a CPA here at Swan Capital that's not only a tax preparer, but she owns Swan Tax Advisory, in that she is the one that runs that business unit. And so she understands what it's like to be a business owner, to work, sometimes till Wednesday for the federal government. And that's why it's really important to save while you're a business owner in tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks that can be set up for your business. Because if you're not careful and you only invest in your business, and when you later sell it and you have this large liquidity event of selling your business, that's a huge taxable event. And our whole job as business owners is to create value for the marketplace, but also create value for our family. So I'd love to hear from Lawrence when he talks about how to help families sell their business and the taxes about that.
Yeah, this is a complex topic, but with respect to selling internally, or really transferring, right? If you want to gift your business to your family, there are ways to do that allow you to optimize for tax, right? And this is that estate planning world, which is a big box to unpackage. Maybe that's a theme for another radio
Definitely.
show. But you can do it, and if you partner with the right advisors, they will help you eliminate or reduce the taxes for gifting. But as well, when you go to market and when you transact in the marketplace, there are steps you can take to reduce your capital gains or your ordinary income tax, and that's all through asset allocation in the purchase price. So either way you look at it, you want to make sure you're partnering with the right advisors that can give you, set you up in advance to take advantage of these tax savings.
And I think what the big misconception is, Lawrence, is when people go to sell their business, they initially think, well, I just need the 7-figure check and I'm going to sail off in the sunset. But is that always the best approach?
No, I mean, what's the goal? right?
Right.
And that's probably going to come up again in this broadcast. Is what's the goal? What are you trying to achieve? For some business owners, that may be they want that large liquidity event. Something else is going on in their life that demands that they get that access to capital. But others have different goals. You could do a structured settlement, or you could do a phased, gifting plan. And it really boils down to what's important to me as the business owner, what conditions have to be true for me to be happy and to meet my goals. Oh, and by the way, I've got these other people in my life,
right.
My family, my employees, their family, and I need to make sure that they've all been honored in the appropriate way.
And that's great that you think about all those people.
That's going to drive the strategy.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But, the nice thing about it is if you do a structured settlement or some sort of sunset of working out of your business after selling it, that really can decrease the tax burden and impact. And that's why, again, we have to bring to the table not only a business broker like yourself, Lawrence, but we have to bring in a CPA and an attorney to make sure that we're not missing anything.
Absolutely. The whole team.
Right. We have a really good friend who just sold his business, 61 years old, and he just went through this whole sale of his company. So I understand.
It's a big transition.
Yeah, it's a huge transition. Now, on the other hand, my sister ran a daycare, and there's a lot of women out there that and there's a lot of women that do that. They have daycares in their home. My sister wanted to teach preschool. My dad was an elementary principal. He's like, hey, you need to teach kindergarten. They're still little, and if you work for the school system, you'll get a pension and all that. But she was like, nope, this is what I want to do. Well, here she is now, retired with no pension and little in savings. So I know we're talking really small business here, but what struggles do individual owners have that other retirees do not have?
Well, I think the first one is they have this large liquidity event, right, Lawrence? And so they're used to taking a salary and dividends from their business, and then they go to a screeching halt with this big liquidity event. And the second thing is as a business owner, we're used to feast and famine, and our families, I guess, eventually get used to that feast and famine of good months and bad months. But eventually, when we retire, there's no pensions, like you were mentioning, Luann. And so that's why I think it's really important to bring in the financial advisor to the business sale, because we want to talk about the goals, and we want to make sure that we're going to provide us a really nice standard of living on the backside of our retirement. And so if you're listening, you say, that's me. I've been working in my business for 30 years, and I'm getting to the point where we've created a lot of value. I think my business is a mature business that is ready for sale, and we've been preparing. Really what Lawrence is really skilled at is making sure that your business looks and is presented in a way that gives you all the credit for all your hard work. Because so many times people create a business, they think they have a great business, but on paper and when it comes to a business evaluation, there's so many things that can be tweaked to get the top dollar for your business. And that is what Lawrence is a great executive coach to bring on. So if you're listening, give us a call at 1-800-848-8768 to schedule a visit with Lawrence, who can sit down with you, hear about what your goals are for selling your business, and he can talk to you about his services of doing a business evaluation on your business and to see how much it's worth and to see if that's enough for you and your family to retire. Again, that's 1-800-848-8768.
And then also remember Andrew's website, swan-capital.com, swan with a hyphen, capital.com. There you'll see the monthly market recap that Andrew has on there, plus the blog post staying the course. And thanks so much for joining us. This is What Your Money Would Say, and we're focusing on business owners today, hoping to bring light to some really important topics that you need to be thinking about as you approach retirement. Of course, Lawrence Moore, our special guest, he's president at GAI, Gibson & Associates. And in the past 25 years, he's helped hundreds of business owners successfully exit their companies that they've built. And we all know that in life, unexpected things happen. I mean, that's just life, right? Things can happen, though, that could drive a business owner to have to sell prematurely. So, Lawrence, I wondered if you could just fill us in, give us some scenarios that you've seen.
Yeah, well, in our industry, we kind of tongue-in-cheek call these the dismal Ds. The dismal Ds. It's death, it's divorce, decline in sales or dissolution, right? Having to dissolve the business. Now, some of these obviously, instantly you understand that those are going to have a negative impact on the value of your business. But even a divorce, right, that presumably, has nothing to do with the business, can put off a perception of, a desperation or some other interference that could impact the value of your business. So, bottom line is, there are a lot of things in life we can't control, but if it's within our control, you'd rather sell too early than sell too late.
And you've helped people, guided them through some of these dismal days. But, it's never too early, though, either, Lawrence, to have a fire drill, right? If any of these happen, are we preparing a business to, go through or sell for one of these dismal Ds? And if you say, well, I'm going through life happy-go-lucky, hoping that none of these happen to me, I don't think that's preparing for all weather conditions. I think we should be prepared for death, disability, because we know it can happen to any of us.
Yeah, it can. Anytime.
So I want to talk about how attorneys and CPAs fit into these business agreements and the selling of our business.
Well, it really takes a team of advisors. It is, an attorney, a CPA, a wealth manager, and a business broker or an intermediary. I mean, we're a broker, but we're really an intermediary. We help facilitate the transition, of the business through different types of scenarios. But we welcome involvement from each of these advisors as early as possible. We have to keep everybody synced on one watch, right? Everybody knows what time it is. Everybody knows what the goal is. And we need every advisor, working for you, the business owner, to help you reach that goal.
Now, they don't always have the same goal initially, though, right? I mean, you might have a CPA that has a different perspective initially, right?
Yeah, it can happen. And we may talk about this a little bit later, but just the tax strategy, right? I mean, a CPA is wired for tax optimization. That's the role you want them to play, in the earlier years, right? But as you begin to consider selling your business, now you need to have a discussion around value optimization,
right?
And that could mean, paying some more taxes now, but increasing the value of your business going forward.
That makes total sense, Lawrence. And so I think that's where you come in, is you can help align someone that's trying to sell their business and say, hey, CPA, you're good at optimizing, but we're trying to sell this business. Hey, attorney, you're good at suing people and litigating, but we're not trying to litigate. We're trying to bring everyone together so we can have a partnership to sell this business. And so if you're listening and you say, Andrew, that's me. I have an attorney, I have a CPA, but they've never went through a business sale before, or they do it every blue moon. You want someone that does this every day, not someone that does this a few times in a lifetime. And that's where Lawrence comes in. If you have a business and you're wondering, how much is your business worth? Can I sell my business? Is my business ready to be sold? Lawrence can help you answer those questions. So I encourage you to give us and Lawrence a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768. 8768.
And coming up, we'll have a lightning round of questions from business owners. That's all coming up next on What Your Money Would Say. We'll be right back. This is What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. I'm Luann Fulmer. And Swan Capital, they are financial professionals who focus on retirement. And today, of course, Andrew is offering you his experience and his knowledge to help you live well in retirement. Now, we are also focusing our show today on businesses. And Andrew has invited his colleague, Lawrence Moore. Lawrence is president of Gibson and Associates. And I am really having fun learning a lot about your business, Lawrence, the business brokerage firm. And it's very interesting to me to see, how you help people in the sale and merging of businesses, and then people who are wanting to purchase businesses. So you really have a fun job, I think. So welcome to our show again.
You get to hear a lot of people's stories. I mean, people have really cool businesses too.
They have great businesses. They have great stories. They've been on a journey, and but we get to we kind of get to see the realization some of their goals
and their hard work.
through this hard work.
Right. I love the fact that someone has a dream, and then they can turn it into a business. But man, there's a lot that goes into a business. So I thought it would be fun if I just throw some questions at you, kind of do a rapid fire set of questions. And these are previously gathered questions from business owners, and then you can answer them. Okay? Does that sound fun?
All right. I'm ready.
All
I'm
right.
ready. Hit me.
Questions from business owners. How much is my business worth?
Well, that's the $1 million, maybe the $10 million question.
Correct.
I think, gosh, for this conversation, I think I need to keep it at this high level. A business is valued based on the size of the benefit stream to the owner. Okay, that's basically the profits and any other
The net income,
personal benefits that they get from the business. So we call that the benefit stream. So the size of the benefit stream, as well as the probability of replicating that benefit stream in the future.
I like that. That's simple. I mean, because you don't want to buy a business where it says, great, you have one good year of income, and when you buy it, then the next year it's zero.
Yeah. So,
Right.
so a strong benefit stream and easily replicated or high probability of replication is going to increase the value of that business. And maybe we can get into some of those details later on.
Okay, next question. How long does it take?
Well, let's say the sales process. I mean, once we have that business sort of ready for prime time and we're marketing it, it could take 6 to 12 months, maybe longer, but on average 6 to 12 months to, court buyers, bring them in, vet them, narrow down to the one, negotiate and transact.
That's surprisingly fast, actually.
It can be. Now it's that's the average. So sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's a lot longer.
Imagine trying to do it yourself with Uncle Billy the attorney trying to draw the paperwork up between two business owners. I mean, I don't know how people don't do it with like a business broker, because 6 to 12 months would sound impossible if you're trying to sell your business by yourself.
Well, and what I think a lot of people don't realize is finding the buyers is not the most difficult part. It's reeling in the buyer. It's getting that fish inside the boat, right?
Yeah.
And that's the role that we play as a business intermediary, working with your advisor team, handling the negotiations, pulling all that paperwork together, performing all the due diligence. But it can still take time. Now, getting the business ready for sale,
Whole different.
that's a different conversation.
Sure.
That could you could be ready today. Or
Could be 5 years in the
or it
making.
Could be 5 years in the making, depending on what your concerns are, what your issues are.
Okay. All right. Here's another question for you. What would be the expenses?
Well, your advisor team, that is and so however that's working. So your CPA that you have.
You don't want the cheapest CPA and attorney, do you?
You're going to have your attorney. For us, we perform a business valuation, which can be a go no go conversation, but there's a fee involved with that, and then brokerage fees, which range depending on the size of the business and the size of the transaction. And perhaps if it hasn't been done in a while, you may need an updated real estate appraisal or equipment appraisal. Again, that's business specific.
Mm-hmm. But, so many times people think about the expense. And again, I'm going to try to sell my business or transition my business to my nephew. And the problem is again, you're not going to get the max dollars unless you have an advisor team. And so sometimes even myself, can be short-sighted to not pay the money to have the right professionals in the team there. And it can cost me on the back end. Hopefully the advisor team brings so much value that it pays for the expenses and then some, obviously.
Yes.
So, Lawrence, you were just saying it takes a while to get a business ready to sell. A lot goes into getting a business ready to sell. What materials does a person need to have ready?
Yeah, well, when we sit down, we want to see 3 years of tax returns, 3 years of financial statements by month or by quarter. So there's an indicator right there. I mean, work with your CPA, get your taxes done, have good books. And if we need to, they might need to be CPA reviewed if you're not you don't have a tradition of keeping quality books.
Having good books is so important. Not only, we keep a set of personal books for us as well as the business books, because they're, like you talked about, there are fringe benefits that, where is the line draw between personal and business? And so I think it's important to keep really good books so that when you do get to a business sale, that you, again, get the max dollar, because that would be a shame because you kept, bad books that you're not going to sell your business for the highest dollar it can.
Yeah, we really want to delineate or be able to separate out what are non-business related expenses, allowable, right,
Sure,
as fringe benefits, but really not critical, business expenses, or even non-reoccurring business expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So if you replaced that roof last year, the next owner is not going to have to do that. Well,
Correct.
we can separate that out, but we need a good accounting of what those types of things are. And then finally, the asset list. Again, business specific, but we want to know which assets in your business are being transferred with a sale, and we need to understand what the market value of those assets will be, because that will play into the valuation.
Absolutely.
I'm asking questions, frequently asked questions from business owners to Lawrence Moore. He's president of Gibson and Associates, our special guest today with Andrew. All right, here's another one for you. What about confidentiality?
Well, this is a prominent feature in everything that we do. We appreciate how important it is to keep this conversation confidential. We don't want this getting out into the community. We don't want employees to know. You never want to give someone enough time to make a bad decision. Or
you could spook vendors. You could tell your competition to pull ahead. It's bad when potentially that information gets out.
So everything we do is confidential. Marketing material that eventually is prepared and shown to prospective buyers, none of that goes out without a signed non-disclosure agreement from that lead. That's to protect the business owner. And so, we want to make sure that that the information is held sacred and held confidential.
I think that's great that you take it so serious, because it is serious information. It's your livelihood that's at stake. You definitely don't want to mess up any relationships with vendors, competitors, as well as your employees who really entrust you. So,
Lawrence, you own a business brokerage firm. Next question, where do you find buyers?
Well, it's a multivariate approach. Of course, there's online platforms. Now more than ever, we have a database of private equity groups and investment funds and family funds that follow us, network of buyers that follow us, and then of course there's the good old direct mail, which still works. Last month we closed on a deal where the buyer found us because they received a stamped and mailed letter. So it's still effective, and that's it's effective because we are targeting, right, a very specific buyer for a very specific business. So we're gonna put all of these tools at our disposal to try to marry up the right buyer.
And I think that's so important, because someone that has never worked with selling a business to private equity may be a whole different conversation and preparation to sell it to someone that's just your nephew or another local competitor. You're going to need to be better prepared potentially for private equity and different way prepared. So I think that's great that you've walked through both styles of selling to private equity or selling to another buyer.
Yeah.
Final question. How can I increase the value of my business?
Well, I think it comes back to the benefit stream and the probability of replication again, right? These are the big dials that you can turn. And so increasing your benefit stream, that's raising prices. That's eliminating non-business related expenses to show a higher profit. Increasing, the probability of replicating performance, securing contracts that go into the future and secure that future revenue.
Yeah, going from a 1-year contract to a 3 or 5 year contract.
For example, if that works for you, if it works for your vendors, management systems, think self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
Is this business self-sufficient? Can
I mean, no
take
one wants to
2-week
buy a
vacation?
job, right? I mean, if you had a management team, that's a business. I've always told people most businesses are high-paying jobs because if the business owner is taken out of it for more than a 5-week period of time, the business starts to suffer or immediately starts to decline. And that's not a business, right?
Right. So being self-sufficient, increasing the benefit stream, putting management systems in place, those are all levers that can be pulled to increase the value.
This has been just really insightful. At the end of the day, I tell people building a business that is sellable is building a business that's keepable. And I think that's worth remembering is even if you're not ready to sell your business, turning those two dials that Lawrence talked about could make you have a business that you enjoy better and your family could see you more. And I think those are really smart dials to turn. And Lawrence is very qualified to help you do that. And so we want to encourage you to, as a business owner, to call Lawrence to, one, get your business evaluated, to see how you can turn those dials that is specific to your industry, because he's worked with many industries. So give him and us a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768.
How can a business owner sell for top dollar? We'll talk about that when we come back on What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair and special guest Lawrence Moore. Over the last 25 years, GAI, Gibson and Associates, has come alongside people who are looking to merge their companies or sell or buy a business. So if you happen to be self-employed or you have a small business or company, there are some challenges that you're going to have that other retirees don't even have to think about. And that's what we're shining a light on today. So, when I'm ready to retire, Lawrence, I'm going to go to my boss and say, hey, I'm going to retire. I decided to go out and just call it quits. When you own a business, you can't really do that. You have to sell that business first. So I thought we'd get into why so many business owners do have a tough time selling their company.
Sure. Well, I think one of the biggest issues is they don't know their value. They don't understand, or they might have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, it could go either way. They think their business is worth $5 million, but it's not. Getting a business valuation is the most important or the most empowering step you can take, right? Because now you have a baseline. Mm-hmm. You know now, okay, this is where I am, and I'm either happy with this, I can move forward, I can meet with Andrew, my wealth manager, or gosh, there's a gap between where I am and where I need to be to meet my goals. And so let's now dial in on what are the 5 or 10 things that we can do to increase the valuation over the next period of time. That's so important because so many times people on the opposite side think that, I'm going to need $5 million to retire. Well, when I get to look at their finances, the assets they've accumulated, their Social Security, sometimes I think, no, you only need $1.2 million from your business sale. Mm-hmm. And the relief that I've seen in business owners' eyes that say, oh, well, we can make it actually. And I think you have to, one, know your number of what your business is worth. That's not a sugar-coated number, but a number that, is evaluated. But you also need to meet with someone like myself that has helped not just one person retire, but helps people retire every day, making sure that we can take that liquidity event and turn it into an income stream for life.
So, Lawrence, you said knowing the value of the business is the very first step to developing that exit plan. Is there anything else we need to do?
Well, yeah, the valuation is the most empowering. But next is this thing we call stakeholder interference. And you as the business owner, you're a stakeholder. And there's an irony here that, you might be, the business might be ready for a transition, but you may not be ready for a transition, even though you're saying you are, or your wife is begging you to. Are you really mentally prepared for this? And so you need to understand, are you ready to step away? And then the other stakeholders are your family, your employees and their families, your vendors, your customers. You need to wrap your head around how are you going to say goodbye to this, which is difficult because it's really become an identity over your lifetime, right? So who wants to say goodbye to their identity?
Sure.
Nobody.
But it sounds simple initially, like, oh, well, that's not going to be a problem. But it is. I mean, people even refer to me as Mr. Swan, and it's not my last name. It's, McNair, but people say Mr. Swan. I'm like, no, it's not my name. Or, even at Christmas, people get me swans for Christmas. And so now people, if I sell my business, people won't know what to give me for Christmas.
No more swans.
That's right. So you're right. I mean, family. You got to think about those employees. That's your work family. We even refer to that. That's my work family. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to say that is a serious thing of kind of planning out your chapter, your next chapter of life. After I sell my business, where am I going to retire to? And that's what I help clients that are are facing retirement and they work for a business, or if they own the business, is preparing for that next chapter. Because if you don't retire to something, that's why you see people deteriorate in retirement. Is because they're not retiring to something.
Yeah, it's a financial hurdle and an emotional hurdle.
Big time.
Exactly. So if you're listening today and you think, that's me, Andrew, I need to start preparing my family, not only my family, but myself for retirement. That is what Lawrence is very skilled at doing. He's helped business owners sell their business for years, and he can help you sell your business. And he can help you hopefully get the highest dollar by making sure that you have a proper business evaluation. And where I come in as the financial manager, as the wealth manager, is to make sure that the number that he gives you is enough for the rest of your life. And that's why we love to work together. So again, if you are listening and you own a business and you're 5 to 10 years out from selling that business, it's never too early to plan with the end in mind of selling your business one day, or transitioning it to a family member. And again, Lawrence can help you with those buy-sell agreements and make sure that it is a good plan for both parties. So give us a call at 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768.
And the website, swan-capital.com. There you can find out all about Andrew and his team. You'll see they are innovative in finding solutions as they help retirees and, of course, small business owners, too, head into retirement. And we thank you so much for joining us. This is What Your Money Would Say. We're so excited to have our special guest, Lawrence Moore, with us today. And, Lawrence, in your experience in helping businesses, oh, my gosh, you worked with so many businesses in the Fortune 500 companies and then other businesses in 20 other some countries. What can kill a business sale?
Well, it comes back to the goal, right? What's the goal? Each party has to understand what conditions have to be true. I love that line. What conditions have to be true for me to achieve my goal? And when we can't get both parties aligned on that, that's where the breakdown comes. But more specifically, it can be that the owner has unrealistic expectations about the value of the business. It could be that we don't have the right legal counsel. We have a litigious attorney that's trying to, that is wired for separating the deal or separating people apart versus a transactional attorney that knows how to bring the deal together. It could be that the owner has the wrong motivation to sell right now. Maybe there was a major life event, one of those dismal Ds, that forced the transaction, and the owner just doesn't want to do it, so doesn't want to be sitting at that table.
They're not in the right headspace,
and they're being forced to, and which is terrible space to be. I mean, we don't want to be. We wish that wasn't the case.
Correct.
But we're there to be an intermediary and try to make the most out of maybe not a good thing. But those are just a few examples of the way a deal can go sideways.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways, and you even have a long list. And what you've helped people is make sure to bring their legal counsel and their tax attorney into a position to help their client, that business owner, in selling their business. And you've helped people get in the right headspace, even if it was a disability or a divorce that is taking them to the table of selling their business. You can be that intermediary to make sure that both parties get a fair deal. deal. And I think that's great that you started off with making sure that we have the right sense of our goals for both parties. Because at the end of the day, someone wants to buy a business because they want that income stream that's predictable. And the other person wants to sell their business because they've worked in it for 20, 30 years maybe, and they're ready for a new chapter of their life. And I think it's great that you always think about both parties, that in any true negotiation, you don't want someone to lose and someone to win. You want it to be a winning a negotiation, ideally.
Why is it that very few businesses can sell their company?
That's a big sigh.
It is. Well, because it's sad. It's difficult, right? I really hurt, for these business owners that have spent their life, in this, right? We talked about the identity. We talked about the blood, sweat, and tears, and they're not able to transact,
right?
And so, I'm really empathetic. It's a challenge, and it is a reality out there, especially now as more and more businesses are transacting. More wealth is being transferred in the U.S. So the business just, it could be too small. It could be that it's
more of a hobby business.
It's being perceived as buying a job,
right,
instead of buying a business. It's just too small.
And I think that's really important to remember is no one wants to, if you work hard and you're working 60 hours a week for little pay, no one else wants to buy your business and work 60, 70 hours for little pay either. I think it's really important. The biggest takeaway that I have, when I meet with Lawrence, is building a sellable business is building a keepable business. So if you're 5 to 10 years out from selling your business or even thinking about selling your business, if you start creating a business that self-manages itself, that has a high profit margin, man, that's a business that you may want to keep. After doing all this work with Lawrence, you may decide, actually, I don't want to sell this business. I appreciate your time, Lawrence, for helping me, prepare this business for sale, but I'm going to keep this business because it's profitable, it runs itself, and I think that is what's really awesome about what you do is you can prepare people for selling, or you can prepare them for keeping a really nice business. And either way, right, you can give them a business valuation that's realistic of selling their business. And when it comes to what we do here at Swan Capital is I can help you come up with a realistic number that you need from your business sale. Many times people don't sell their business is because they don't know how much to sell their business for and how much they need. And it's really nice because that's actually the easy part of my job. Is the financial math. A lot of my job is science, and some of it is definitely the art. But the science part's easy because it relies on math. Because I can tell a client, you need $1.8 million. If you live to age 100, you're going to need about $1.8 million. And people will say, that's perfect. I'll make sure that I sell my business for at least $2 million so I can cover the taxes. So if you're listening and you say, that's me, Andrew, I'm probably 5 to 10 years out from selling my business. I would love to meet with someone like Lawrence that's a business coach that's helped people sell their business. Let's schedule a meeting where we can have a complimentary visit with everyone in the room and have that discussion of what your goals are for selling your business. Again, our number is 1-800-848-8768. That's 1-800-848-8768. 68. I'm Andrew McNair, and I want to thank you for listening to What Your Money Would Say. Join us next week as we help you unravel the right things that you need to do for a successful retirement. See you next week.